Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are taking a look at my marathon training plan, the different types of runs I've got in that plan, and my progress today. I am 3 weeks into my 16-week training block, so let's take a look and see how I am getting on. Okay, before we get into the plan, we'll just cover a bit of background, sort of where am I at coming into this plan, and then it'll make a bit of sense, sort of why I'm starting where I'm starting, because I'm not sort of coming into this completely fresh, although it will be the first proper training plan I've followed for running. So in 2025, I spent the first 8 months of the year building up to a half Ironman triathlon. So by August, I'd done 8 solid months of swimming, cycling, running, and a little bit of strength work. It's fair to say that once I completed the triathlon in August, I probably took a few months off in terms of following a plan and real consistency. I was still training most days, but I was just getting on the bike or going for a run or swimming for the sake of it with no real plan or aim, just to keep and maintain a bit of fitness. When I found out I'd got a place in the London Marathon, which was sort of December 25, I then started sort of dialing back the swimming and cycling and ramping up the running, so I'd be ready to start the marathon training plan. So I've got the plan from Runner, which I'll run through shortly. I started sort of my pre-training at sort of mid-December, and then the training plan that I'm following from Runner started on the 5th of January 26. So I had 2 solid weeks really building up my weekly mileage back up to similar levels to what I had in August for the half Ironman. And then, straight into it with a sort of 40 kilometers a week mileage from Runner. So what I'll do now is I'll bring up that plan and we'll have a quick flick through it, look at a few highlights and explain sort of what's going on, what I'm doing, and why I'm doing it. And then we will take a look at how I'm getting on 3 weeks in. As you can see, this is my Runner plan. The base for the plan is 5 runs a week, 2 strength sessions, and a stretch session, and then any other training that I do isn't on the plan. So if I do any swimming or cycling, then it's not covered on the plan, but Runner will see it through Strava, I think, and depending on what it is, might take it into account when adjusting the plan, adjusting mileage, that sort of thing. Runner seems to be pretty good for that side of it. 3 weeks in, it's already adjusted my weekly mileage because I've did a few longer runs than Runner had suggested. So it seems to be adapting to the data that's going into Strava, so that's great. So in terms of the breakdown of the different runs every week, I have 2 easy runs, 1 intervals run, a tempo run, and a long run, making up the 5 runs for the week. The easy runs are literally what they say on the tin, so these are runs at conversational pace. For me, Runner is recommending a pace of 5:35 per kilometre. That keeps me well and truly in sort of zone 2 for heart rate, so really comfortable run. It is something I've been struggling a bit with. I'm quite comfortable running at 5:25 per kilometre. That seems to be the sweet spot for me when it comes to zone 2 runs. So I'm really having to make an effort to slow down just a touch more to get it down to 5:35. And as you can see, I'll put a few of my runs up on screen, some of my some of my easy runs on screen. And as you can see, the pace is quicker than what Runner is suggesting. So that's something I'm in week 3 now. It's something I need to focus on going into week 4 and 5, because it's really important to make sure those easy runs remain easy. So the benefits of the slow run sessions, it's building that sort of base endurance level for your body, and it's allowing you to recover between harder sessions. So you can go and run an interval or a tempo session and then go and do a nice easy slow run the next day. Your body will cope with that and it reduces the risk of injury. If you do back to back tempo interval high intensity sessions, eventually you will get injured. There's no way your body can keep performing at that intensity every single day. So these slow runs are so important to keep building that mileage, but doing it in a controlled way that stops you from getting injured. So the interval runs, which I do once per week, runners got a real good variety in here. So things like 1 kilometer repeats, 800 repeats, 200s, 400s, like quite high intensity with a break. And like, so let's say you do a set of like 10 400s, a minute break between each. It's like really high intensity, really high pace, getting a nice rest, but quite a fatigue, like it's really fatiguing on the body. So only doing one of those per week. Now, the actual interval runs I've been doing have been different to the ones Runner has suggested. The triathlon club I'm a part of, which is Carlisle Tri Club, I go to their session on a Tuesday, so I use their session instead of the Runner interval session. And I probably push a lot harder in those sessions than I should be doing for a marathon plan. But if I'm honest, it's just fun. And I really, I'll be completely honest, stick me on a running track and tell me to run 400 meters as fast as I can. Like, I'm going to go and do it, even if I probably shouldn't. So I always make sure my Wednesday is really just easy. It's usually, I think at the moment I tend to do, I know it says legs and core on the plan, but I tend to do like an upper body session on the Wednesday and move my legs to later in the week. Just to really rest my legs after that really heavy and high intense interval session. So what is the benefit of these interval sessions? Why are we doing them? Start off with, it improves your speed. If you don't train running at high speeds, you're never going to adapt your body to do that, which kind of makes sense. Obviously, not every session can be a high speed session. You've got to let your body rest, but one of these sessions a week can be really beneficial. It can help to improve your VO2 max, which is essentially like your body's engine, or the max output of your body's engine. And it allows you to run faster and longer whilst fatigued. So these are really, really beneficial sessions, but because of how intense they are, they have to be done not that regularly. So I think once a week sits about right for me. Next, we've got tempo. So this is sort of running at your race pace or marathon pace. And it's getting you used to running at that speed over various distances and adapting your pace depending, well, you'll adapt your pace in the race depending on how you're feeling. But I guess the point of the tempo, some of the tempo sessions at least, is you're changing paces from quite a fast pace for a long distance to a bit of an easier pace, and just switching between the two and getting used to being able to run a handful of kilometers at different paces. So I've been enjoying the tempo sessions. It's just something a bit different. That so far they've been a similar distance to some of the easy runs, and it's just something a bit more interesting than an easy run, whilst preparing you for running at that sort of marathon pace that you're aiming for. So in terms of my pacing for my tempo sessions, I've been running at between 4:25 per kilometer up to 5:10 per kilometer. I'm not actually sure yet what Runner is expecting me to run the marathon at. I think I was probably aiming for around the 5 minutes per kilometer mark, but we'll see how that changes as the training goes. And similar to what I was saying about the intervals, when it comes to the tempo and the faster elements of the session, I tend to get a bit excited and run quicker than I probably should be doing. So for example, I did like a rolling 300 session the other day, and it was literally run 300 at 4:25, run 300 at 5:10, but I was doing a lot of the 300s at like 4:10, 4:15, and I probably wasn't bringing the pace down enough either for the alternating 300s. So again, I really need to work on my pacing and remember that I'm training for a marathon and not for a half or a 10k or a 5k or anything like that. So I've got a bit of work to do in that space. In terms of the tempo run benefits, this is raising your lactate threshold so you can hold that faster pace for longer. Like, you're running at your race pace and you're training your body to run at that pace for a sustained period. So these are really important sessions. Similar to the intervals though, only looking to do one of these a week because they are high intensity, and if you do too many of these in a week, you're going to get injured. You're going to really fatigue the body. So you need to weave these in and around the long sessions and the long runs and the slow runs, just to make sure that you're not overdoing it. So onto the long run. So these are exactly what they sound like. I get one long run per week. So far, these have been either a long run at conversational pace, so at that 5:35 pace, which I've struggled to stay within. I've probably gone up to 5:15, 5:25, which I'm quite comfortable at in just about staying in zone 2. And I've had a few progressive long runs as well. So like today's long run, I end of week 3, I've just done today. I was meant to do a 17k progressive long run, which was like 7k's at the conversational pace, and then 6k's in the middle at a higher like 5:10 pace, and then bring it back down to that slower pace again, just getting you used to running at a slightly quicker pace for a longer period of time as you're building up the mileage. So today's 17k actually ended up being 21k. I just felt quite comfortable as I got to the 17k mark, and I did slow it down for the last sort of 4 or 5k, bringing up to the half marathon distance, but back down to the sort of 5:25, 5:35 conversational pace. So yeah, that's 3 long runs done so far, and the distances have been around the sort of 15 to 20k mark quite early into the plan. In terms of the benefits of the long runs, so this is developing your endurance. It's developing that base, similar to slow runs, but just longer distance. You're developing that base level of endurance, but you're also doing a few other things as well. You're practicing your fueling. So for me personally, once I know that I'm running over an hour and a half, I'll start taking gels, starting off around the 40-minute mark, and that just gives me a boost and make sure I can sustain a good level of pace throughout the whole session. So it gives you a chance to practice that fueling and get your body used to the gels or whatever it is you're going to take on race day to maintain your energy levels throughout the race. Another probably overlooked benefit of these long runs are just building that mental resilience for race day. Like, depending on your pace, you could be out there running for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. It's really difficult to run for that length of time. So you need to practice that, so you don't get to race day. You might get to, what you don't want to do is get to 20k, 30k, and just your mind cannot carry on when your body's actually fine to crack on. So the long runs are there to build this mental resilience. So on race day, the opposite happens. Your body might be giving up on you 30k's, 35k's, and your mind can just push through to get you to that finish line. So that's a huge benefit of the long runs. Okay, so let's have a look at the plan and how it's broken down. The first 4 weeks of the plan, I'm just building up mileage. So you can see there, the long runs start to build up. The plan started at 13k, I think I ran a bit further, but now building up 13, 15, 17, 18k's on the long runs. And then week 5 is a deload week, so dropping all of the mileage back down just to give the body a rest before we start ramping it back up again. And then from weeks 6 all the way up to week 9, we're really adding in the mileage and building that up. So the long run goes 20k, 23, 26, 30k. So that's going to be quite challenging for me. I've never ran, sat here never having ran more than 25k. So quite looking forward to that. Like looking forward to just setting some distance PBs. That'll feel really good. I then have another bit of a deload week in week 10 and week 11 as I build up to my B race. So I'm doing the Carlisle Half Marathon at the end of March, like 1 month before the full London Marathon, just to see where I'm at with my pacing and how I cope with a race situation. Obviously it's half the distance, so it's going to feel very different to the full marathon, but it's still a good probably tester of where I'm at. And then after that, I've got 4 weeks in the run up to the full marathon. So week 12 will be initially quite light and then building up into quite a long run a week after that half marathon race. And then the long runs sort of continue into week 13, and week 14 and 15 start to bring it down a bit as I taper, and in the run up to the full marathon the end of April. So that is the runner suggested training plan, and that plan will change. It's already changed once as I've been training as I'm in week 3. So that plan will change slightly depending on my pace and my weekly distance. So if I'm continually running at a faster pace or putting in further distances than the plan suggests, then it will tweak the plan accordingly. Okay, so that is the plan. Where are we right now? How am I sort of getting on? So we are in week 3. It is currently Saturday of the 3rd week of training. And so far I'm happy with how it's going and yeah, how I'm progressing. So the first 2 weeks felt very easy, very gradual. I think the 2 weeks prior to me starting the plan, I'd put in quite a lot of mileage, got myself up to like 40-45 Ks. And then the first week of the plan probably wasn't quite that much. So it felt like a nice ease into the plan. I was quite happy with that. I wasn't really sure exactly what to expect. I've never trained for a marathon before. Didn't know if I'd be thrown straight into 20k long run, 25k long run, anything like that. But it started really gradual at that 13k mark. So yeah, came out of week 1 excited, enjoying it, and just enjoying being back into a plan. Like I really enjoy training to a plan and seeing the results as you go. Week 2 was similar sort of distance. Had a few challenges, so just fitting all the sessions in that week. I was in the office for work twice that week. So I normally go out and do a lot of my smaller runs on my lunch. So I work remotely at home, so I can just run from my front door, get I don't know, whatever it needs to be, half an hour, 45-minute run in during my lunch, whereas I wasn't able to do that in a couple of days. So I ended up moving some sessions around, but I got all but 1 session in that week. And I think the way that I rejigged the sessions, I probably was feeling quite fatigued at the end of the week. But now at the end of week 3, I'm feeling great, and it's been a bit of a heavier week in terms of distance. So yeah, it's going well so far. So looking ahead to week 4, similar sort of distance wise overall to week 3, adding just a few Ks to the overall for the week. There looks to be the tempo run, long run, and then easy run back to back over the next weekend. So that will be quite challenging. It's a lot of volume in a short space of time, but that's exactly what this plan is designed to do, is to help me train my body to be able to do that distance, so that eventually I can do it all in sort of one day. I've got a holiday coming up towards the end of the week, so I'll probably end up moving a few things around to accommodate that. But it does mean that I can go running in the sort of Loch Tay area of Scotland. So we'll be running in amazing scenery around Aberfeldy and that sort of area. So I'm really looking forward to that. And it'll make a nice change from running around the parks of Carlisle. So yeah, I think that'll be good. Week 4 is going to be a good week. In terms of what is next for this series, I'm going to try and get 1 video out a week just to give a bit of an update on how it's going, how I'm feeling, how I managed to get my sessions in, and if there's any challenges I'm running into. And I'll try and cover the B race I've got in March, and obviously I'll cover the marathon as well. In terms of the updates, I'm going to try and make them a bit more interesting in terms of footage. So I know a lot of this so far has just been me yapping on here. I'm playing around with GoPros and trying to get a bit of running footage. I know running footage isn't the most interesting, but it should make this a little bit different. And yeah, with my holiday coming up this week, I should be able to get some good footage around Loch Tay area, so the footage isn't just going to be the parks of Carlisle that I seem to run endlessly around. So thank you for tuning in. If you made it this far, thank you so much. If this has been of any use to you whatsoever, please like and subscribe. And if you've got any questions about my plan, how it's going, or anything like that, or anything you want to see in a future video, add it to the comments and I'll make sure I get it covered in the next video. Thank you.